Hi, and welcome to First Bite, a Nation's Restaurant News podcast. I'm your host, Holly Petrie. Today is Tuesday, November 15th, and here are your top stories. First, Fazoli's tripled dessert sales after partnering with Cheesecake Factory. Fazoli's partnership with the Cheesecake Factory has added incremental sales without operational complexity. Second, McDonald's taps Ted Lasso for an unprecedented World Cup campaign. The social-first FIFA World Cup campaign is the company's largest global campaign to date. Third, the 12 restaurant chains consumers crave the most. One quality that keeps restaurant consumers returning to a chain again and again is simply how craveable that restaurant's food is. Fourth, how Texas Roadhouse is bucking negative traffic trends. Texas Roadhouse is riding its 10th year of positive traffic patterns despite higher menu prices. And finally, White Castle continues to push the envelope even as it honors a century of tradition. Meet NRN's first brand icon honoree. Now let's dive deeper into one of these stories. Get ready to meet our brand icon. This new annual title is given to a brand selected by the nation's restaurant news editors that is cementing its legacy even as it pushes the envelope in innovation. We tour their headquarters and provide a behind-the-scenes look at both the history and the present-day life of the company. Meet this year's brand icon, White Castle, with editor-in-chief Sam Okus, and learn what a brand icon is.
So we launched our brand icon report this year as a way to recognize that the history of restaurants, and certainly those restaurant chains that were the foundation of the modern restaurant industry generations ago, continue to be relevant. I mean, I think us in the media, as much as anybody, we get really excited about new shiny things. And in the media world and beyond, we're always looking for the next new thing and the next company coming up. Well, who's going to be the, Subway Slayer or whatever, and we don't take the time to really stop and recognize that those companies that were founded in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, they're still around. I mean, they're still innovating. They're still modernizing. And so we stopped to say, okay, we need to do more work at recognizing who those companies are from generations ago, the ones that have been around for a long time, that are doing the most work today to really set the tone for the state of the restaurant industry. What companies are innovating in unique ways? Which legacy brands are most resonating with customers even today? So that was the basis for the report in general, was to say we want to pick one brand every year that is doing the most impressive job at, yes, recognizing its history and its legacy, but also has an eye on the future and on innovation. Why we picked White Castle, you've got to start with White Castle's history. It is the oldest hamburger chain in the world, according to themselves. Really, I think it's safe to say they're the first fast food chain in the world, because the only other two that I can tell that were older are A&W and Nathan's Famous. And those two brands existed in sort of different formats prior to 1921, which was when White Castle started. When White Castle was launched by E.W. Billy Ingram, it was a bona fide quick service restaurant. And so from the start, it had that model and it scaled quickly. He opened them right away. He opened multiple. Whereas A&W and Nathan's Famous were both kind of, they sort of started as stands. And anyway, they have their own histories. Maybe we'll unpack as brand icons later. But White Castle from 1921, the oldest hamburger chain in the world, at the very least, if not the oldest fast food chain. And today, 101 years later, it could be a mess. It could be just like, well, we are what we are. We've been around forever. Don't expect us to be anything different. But they're not. They push the envelope. They are innovating. They were the first national chain to go to put the Impossible product on their menu with the Impossible slider. They are working with Miso Robotics with the Flippy the robot, in their restaurants. And in many other ways, they are acting very much like a company of today and tomorrow, and not just like a company of yesterday. So we were really excited to be able to recognize White Castle with this honor. It's also important to note this company is still owned by the same family, by Billy Ingram's family. His great-granddaughter, Lisa Ingram, is the CEO. So there's just so many things about White Castle that make it feel almost like a unicorn. It's never franchised, owned by the same family. massively successful, crazy base of fans, and yet it is still innovating today.
So tell me about the White Castle of the present and a little bit about what this brand icon experiment that we did was. I mean, we went to the headquarters. We really dove in deep.
Yeah, we sure did. They opened their doors to us because our question really to them was, okay, what makes you, what's the secret to this success? If you are able to, after 101 years, act like such a modern day restaurant company, how do you balance those two things? How are you able to really push forward through innovation and into the future, while also having that historical element and recognizing that past? We wanted to hear it from them directly and see it from them directly. So that was what they did. And they opened their doors to us. And we had a lot of fun because not only are their executives just very inviting and authentic and honest, and we had really wonderful conversations with their leadership team, but the White Castle headquarters, which is only 3 years old, they built a new headquarters in Columbus, is really like a museum of artifacts to White Castle. And just every little detail in that building has some fun, quirky elements that harkens back to White Castle's history and heritage. And so that was a lot of fun. And we captured video, we recorded audio for our podcast, wrote a story, of course, and put it all together into, essentially, we see this report as being, an inside, the inside scoop on what makes this company tick, and really a blueprint for, if you see your company being one that's going to stick around for generations, here's how you can really balance the two things of acknowledging the foundation, where you come from, your core values, and also what you imagine this restaurant company can be in the future. White Castle offers a really excellent blueprint for that.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of First Bite. We'll be back tomorrow with a brand new one. Until then, stay up to date with all your news on NRN.com.